Years ago, we went to the moon and finally looked back at our home.
Since that historic moment, the human population has more than doubled.
This series reveals what we must preserve to ensure our own survival.
Forests. Over half of the world's trees stand in these great assemblies. For many, they are places of darkness, but they hold the key to our climate. Yet, in the past, a young East Asian man has destroyed them without a single hesitation. But these forests possess an astonishing, near miraculous ability to recover. Welcome to the southern edge of the boreal forest, dominating the subarctic.
It stretches eastward across Russia for thousands of freezing kilometers.
In the dead of winter, it's completely silent, seemingly empty of life. Yet, this frozen wasteland is home to an animal so rare, it's mythical. The Siberian tiger. Less than 600 of these apex predators remain on Earth. These are the most intimate wild pictures of them ever captured by man. A single male must patrol a territory of almost 2,000 square kilometers. He has no choice if he wants to find enough prey to survive the winter. This is an impoverished land, where food of any kind is extremely scarce.
Pine nuts provide vital, life-saving energy during these freezing months. For the boars, it's grab and go. They cannot afford to waste a second.
Because they themselves are the ultimate food source for a hungry tiger. This deadly game of hide and seek plays out over vast areas of forest. Brutal poaching once pushed the Siberian tiger to the brink of extinction.
These rare glimpses prove their future relies entirely on massive hunting grounds.
The boreal forest extends from Russia across Europe, straight to North America. It contains 750 billion trees, forming a shield for our planet. It stores over 40% of the world's carbon, fighting climate change. In winter, daylight is so short that all plant growth comes to a standstill. This far north, the forest supports very few Dall sheep compared to the tropics.
To survive, many predators must depend on a supplement found in its rivers.
Moving east to western Alaska, the frozen rivers give way to a massive wildlife spectacle, showcasing diverse waterfowl.
Every spring and autumn, millions of salmon leave the vast ocean behind.
They fight their way upstream, returning directly to their ancestral spawning grounds. This journey represents the greatest transfer of ocean nutrients to land on Earth. These fish are crucial seasonal food for every single predator in this forest.
Perched high in the canopy, the ultimate lords of the sky are waiting.
Bald eagles live here year-round, nesting as close to the water as possible. Among them are young eagles, still lacking their iconic white heads.
But this 4-year-old female is finally big enough to claim her own spot.
At first, the only things she can get are the scraps left by older predators.
And she can't even secure these leftovers without facing a brutal fight.
Beaten and outnumbered, the young female is forced to look elsewhere. The boreal forest is vast, but every predator knows exactly where salmon spawn. As winter advances and the rivers freeze over, competition becomes intense.
This time, the youngster, a young golden eagle, gets lucky and locks her talons onto a fresh carp fish. Luckily, she holds one major biological advantage over her rivals.
Female bald eagles, even when young, are significantly larger than the males.
And out here in the freezing wilderness, sheer size matters the most. As the freezing winter tightens its grip, survival becomes a daily gamble. If she survives this trial, she earns a permanent place in this harsh paradise. Further south stand the last guardians of the American Pacific Northwest. The great redwood forests. Trees so tall they touch the low-hanging fog. Not long ago, these magnificent giants dominated the entire western coast. Today, due to human expansion, only 5% of them remain standing. Unlike the frozen north, warm, humid Pacific winds blow in year-round. Because conditions are less harsh, these trees never stop growing.
Hidden deep within this moist environment is a highly populated underworld. Meet a male rough-skinned newt, emerging for a life or death mission. Driven by a mysterious urge, he must return to the pool where he hatched. And he needs to get there fast, because he is definitely not alone. Trekking across hundreds of meters of old-growth forest floor is a brutal challenge. They are all desperately searching for a single female to pass on genes.
Once paired, the male hangs on tight for hours until she discharges her eggs.
Rival males rush in immediately, eager to aggressively displace him if they can.
Competition is so fierce that trapped females have been known to drown.
Within weeks, the tadpoles will hatch, and none too soon for this forest. By the end of summer, the intense heat turns the ecosystem into tinder. Strong winds drive the sudden flames, and temperatures skyrocket to 700 degrees Celsius. The aftermath looks like absolute, total destruction of all living things. Fierce winds scour the newly exposed floor, kicking up wild dust devils of ash. The blackened soil appears completely dead, but the forest is far from gone. Within only a few months, vibrant wildflowers and tree seedlings will rise. In fact, many seeds would never germinate without this extreme baptism of fire.
Golden light streaming through the newly opened canopy
fuels a surge of growth. The older, well-established redwoods survived, protected by thick, fire-resistant bark. This natural resilience is absolutely essential to the long-term health of these giants.
However, most forests on our planet cannot recover entirely on their own.
They rely heavily on a complex, interdependent relationship with wild animals.
Nowhere is this vital dependence more apparent than in India's Western Ghats. This globally critical habitat contains a third of all animal species in India.
Meet the lion-tailed macaques, feeding on the abundant fruits of the canopy. By doing so, they distribute seeds, which emerge entirely unscathed in their droppings. Great hornbills have wings stretching almost 2 meters across for long travel. They feed on 40 different tree species, transporting seeds across the mountains.
Because wild figs are low in nutrients, hornbills must eat massive quantities.
This constant demand for food sparks intense, aggressive competition between rivals. While they squabble over food, this display serves a much greater evolutionary purpose. The ultimate winner demonstrates his sheer strength and skill to watching females.
Securing the best possible pairing is vital, as their bond will last a lifetime.
The ecosystem benefits too, as even defeated birds spread seeds while searching for meals. Yet, the relationship between trees and animals is not always so harmonious. This is Africa's largest forest, the Miombo, stretching for over 1,000 miles. At the peak of the dry season, it attracts desperate wildlife from across the continent. Elephants prefer nutritious grass, but in its absence, they turn to tree bark. But they are not the only hungry creatures looking to strip this forest bare. Hatching simultaneously in massive numbers, they launch a coordinated attack on the canopy.
Feeding non-stop, they will phenomenally increase their body size 40 times over in 6 weeks.
By the time they fully develop, this million-strong army strips the entire forest. But the resilient Miombo bounces back quickly once the caterpillars disappear. This fresh, secondary growth of leaves immediately attracts the hungry giants back. Elephants are far less fussy than caterpillars, eating every part of the tree. A single hungry elephant can easily munch through 200 kilos of vegetation a day. Yet, this heavy destruction shapes the habitat to aid an endangered predator, the African hunting dog. They need open spaces to spot and track their prey. Browsing elephants open up the thick forest, drawing in herds of grazing animals. For these highly tactical dogs, the engineered Miombo becomes the perfect hunting country. It also provides a secure, hidden refuge to safely bring up vulnerable pups.
Returning from a successful hunt, the adult golden retriever dogs are met with extreme, vocal excitement.
Food. The pups spend their first 3 months hiding safely underground.
How confident, they spend most of their daylight hours playing out in the open.
This playful behavior is crucial for establishing tight social bonds for teamwork.
They must learn to hunt together as a flawless team to survive the wild. The Miombo has always been a vital sanctuary for this highly endangered species. But their survival depends entirely on other creatures maintaining this delicate balance. Madagascar is dominated by one of the oddest, most surreal trees on Earth, baobabs. This massive island has been completely isolated from the mainland for over 80 million years. During this immensity of time, its plants and animals evolved into highly unique forms. This extreme isolation makes these vulnerable habitats the most precious on our planet.
This is not a monkey, but a distant relative, a highly specialized lemur. There are at least 40 different kinds of lemurs, all unique to Madagascar. And sadly, every single one of these unique primate species is now endangered.
Lemurs are crucial to the forest. Without them, certain trees cannot reproduce or survive.
But this delicate paradise also breeds its very own specialized, lethal lemur hunter. It is Madagascar's absolute top predator, and its rare presence causes instant alarm. The elusive fossa can grow up to 1.5 meters in length. Highly solitary for most of the year, they assemble uniquely during breeding season.
Each mature female takes up exclusive residence high up in a special mating tree.
A half-dozen hopeful males gather in the dark forest floor directly below her.
But she is clearly occupied with a rival, forcing others to wait their turn.
He leaves his distinct scent, a wild calling card to show that he visited.
He, a middle-aged Caucasian man with a rugged beard, must be incredibly patient, as her, a young East Asian woman.
With top predators distracted, smaller nocturnal creatures go about their business undisturbed.
These are immature leaf bugs, a bizarre species found absolutely nowhere else on Earth. Why they possess this extraordinary, ghost-like shape, science still cannot fully explain. They feed on tree sap, absorbing nutrients and excreting a sweet liquid called honeydew. This sugary honeydew provides a vital, energy-packed food source for a tiny primate. The gray mouse lemur, measuring only 15 centimeters, the smallest primate alive.
Extremely active, this miniature creature cannot let a single sugary drop go to waste.
Down on the ground, the rejected male fossas are still waiting anxiously.
The pair above remains heavily engaged, offering him zero chance of success.
He will either have to find another mating tree or face total failure. Tragically, a third of Madagascar's fossas have vanished in just the last 20 years. Driven by human destruction, the unique forest they relied on has disappeared completely. Today, a heartbreaking 3% of Madagascar's original dry forest remains standing. Worldwide, humanity has now destroyed over half of the forests that once flourished. Not only are we losing unique animals,
we are actively changing the global climate. But if given a genuine chance, our planet's forests are unbelievably resilient. The ultimate proof of this healing power lies at the site of our greatest disaster, Chernobyl. In 1986, a catastrophic nuclear reactor explosion changed history forever. It instantly turned a thriving, modern, utopian city into a silent, ghost town. Over 100,000 residents were immediately evacuated, ordered never to look back. The toxic fallout zone was declared completely uninhabitable for the next 20,000 years. Yet, despite the lethal radiation, nature began an unforgettable, silent uprising. Within only a single decade, wild vegetation began to aggressively reclaim the ruins. As the forest re-established its roots, wild animals slowly began to reappear.
At first, scientists assumed these creatures were just rare, accidental visitors.
But it soon became undeniable. The former city was a thriving, wild community. Within just 20 years, animal populations here matched the wildest parts of Europe. Roe deer are now a common sight, wandering freely through abandoned suburbs. Herds of the highly endangered Przewalski's horse now roam these quiet avenues. Once nearly extinct, they found a safe haven where humans no longer rule. But the most shocking surprise was the return of the forest's top predator: apex wolves. Their sudden return proves the entire food chain is healthy. Hunters like these only settle where prey is abundant and the forest thrives.
Studies show wolf numbers inside the exclusion zone are 7 times higher than outside.
No unprotected human can stay here for long without facing a lethal risk.
By driving us out, the invisible radiation created the ultimate sanctuary for wildlife.
The dramatic recolonization of Chernobyl in just 30 years is absolute proof.
If we choose to give forests time and space, they will reclothe the entire Earth.
They will bring back the rich, varied communities of life we recently stole. A future with more forests is the single greatest key to our planet's survival.
Because when it comes to saving our only home, it is truly now or never. Join the global movement. Restore our forests, and we restore our future.
To truly understand the survival of our planet, we must go back to the freezing dark. At -40 degrees, every breath a Siberian tiger takes costs massive energy. Their thick fur protects them, but their internal furnace demands constant meat. A single failed hunt can mean starvation in this vast, frozen green prison. But tigers are master tacticians, using the wind to completely hide their scent.
Ahead, the target is still completely oblivious to the approaching phantom.
Wild boars huddle together to combat the extreme, life-threatening winter cold.
The apex predator selects the weakest link in the huddle with precision.
One wrong step will send a shockwave of panic through the entire grove. Instant chaos breaks out as the massive feral boars scatter into the thick woods.
But the tiger has already locked onto his target, calculating the interception.
In deep snow, the tiger's massive paws act like natural, specialized snowshoes.
The juvenile boar struggles, sinking deep into the treacherous frozen drifts.
Within split seconds, the gap between life and death narrows to zero. This single kill provides the tiger with enough fat to survive another week. But he must feed quickly before other scavengers arrive to steal his prize. Ravens act as the eyes of the forest, alerting larger rivals to fresh meat. Miles away, an enormous rival male tiger intercepts the bird's vocal signal.
A territorial clash between two apex titans is a lethal risk for both.
To avoid deadly conflict, the first tiger marks his kill boundary clearly.
This chemical warning tells the rival exactly who rules this frozen valley. The larger Bengal tiger arrives, sniffing the fresh mark with extreme caution.
He weighs his options: fight for a meal, or preserve his precious energy.
The titan backs down, turning away into the endless, blinding white storm. This complex social code prevents a bloodbath among the last 600 tigers. The trees witness it all, standing as silent guardians of this fragile peace. As spring approaches, this frozen theater prepares for a massive transition. The melting glaciers unleash a surge of nutrients down toward the oceans. The melting winter ice flushes directly into the vast, turbulent North Pacific Ocean.
Out here, millions of Alaskan salmon spent years feeding and growing strong.
They absorb rich marine nutrients, transforming into silver blocks of pure muscle. But an invisible biological clock suddenly triggers the ultimate homecoming mission. They must travel over 5,000 miles back to their exact birthplace. To navigate, they use Earth's magnetic field and an incredible sense of smell. As they approach the coast, their bodies undergo a bizarre, radical transformation. The males grow a fierce, hooked jaw, preparing for the breeding wars ahead.
From this moment on, the salmon stop eating entirely, living on pure fat.
Every ounce of their remaining energy is focused on moving straight up.
But waiting at the top of these rapids are the forest's heaviest residents.
Grizzly bears need these fatty fish to gain weight before winter hibernation. An adult bald eagle claims the prize, carrying it high into the tree line. As the eagle tears into the meat, small scraps drop down to the soil. Insects and fungi break down the flesh, infusing the ground with marine nitrogen.
This unique nitrogen fuels the massive growth of the surrounding trees.
Without the salmon, these northern forests would be stunted and impoverished.
Meanwhile, back in the river, the surviving salmon finally reach the end. The female uses her tail to dig a shallow nest in the clean gravel. Their biological mission is complete, and their exhausted bodies completely shut down. They die right where they were born, giving their last breath to the stream.
Their decomposing bodies will feed the very insects their own babies will eat.
It is a flawless, beautiful circle of life, driven by absolute self-sacrifice. This micro-world remains safe, while above the ice, the forest prepares to burn. Before the firestorms ignite, the subterranean creatures must complete their legacy. His skin secretes tetrodotoxin, a lethal neurotoxin that keeps hungry birds away. This chemical shield makes him fearless, but it cannot help him win a mate. Pheromones fill the water, driving hundreds of toxic male palmate newts into a mating frenzy. They ball up tightly around a female, crushing each other in a desperate battle. The strongest male eastern newt locks his arms around her neck, blocking all other rivals. As winter turns to summer, the scorching American sun evaporates the breeding pools. The air turns boiling hot, drying out the giant trees from base to canopy. A rogue lightning strike hits the mountain peak, igniting a catastrophic chain reaction. Driven by ocean winds, the fire roars through the canopy like a jet engine. This is a crown fire, the most destructive type of forest blaze known to science. Superheated gases cause entire trees to spontaneously explode at 700 degrees Celsius. On the ground, wildlife burrows deep into the soil to escape the thermal wave. Above them, the inferno consumes centuries of dead wood in a matter of hours. When the smoke finally clears, the ancient ecosystem looks like a lifeless alien planet. Yet, this apparent apocalypse is exactly what the giant redwoods have waited for. The ash acts as a potent fertilizer, rich in potassium and vital minerals.
Furthermore, the extreme heat forced the tightly sealed redwood cones to burst open.
Millions of tiny, winged seeds rain down onto the perfectly cleared, nutrient-rich bed.
With the thick underbrush completely cleared, sunlight hits the forest floor for the first time. Without competing plants stealing water, the redwood seedlings trigger a growth explosion. The giant adult trees stand tall, completely unfazed by the terrifying firestorm. Their secret weapon is tannic acid inside the bark, which naturally repels fire. This evolutionary shield allows them to outlive the fire
and dominate the coast for millennia. This masterclass in survival proves that destruction is often the father of rebirth.
But as we move to the tropical zones, forests lose this ability to heal alone.
In the humid tropics, heavy rain washes away nutrients if the animal links break. Here, life must be actively planted by a highly specialized team of animal engineers. Deep in India's Western Ghats, the survival of the entire jungle depends on teamwork. The lion-tailed macaque spends its entire life high up, rarely touching the ground. Their silver manes shield them from the heavy monsoon rains that wash the canopy. Right now, its focus is locked onto a massive, fruiting wild fig tree. Wild figs are the ultimate life support system for tropical wildlife during shortages. But the figs hide a bizarre, secret partnership inside their fleshy walls. Caves inside the fig are nurseries for tiny wasps, the tree's only pollinators. The macaque digests the pulp, but the tough seeds remain completely unharmed. These dropped seeds sprout directly on host branches, growing into strangler figs. But to colonize the entire mountain range, the fig needs a long-distance carrier. A giant shadow eclipses the macaque as a great hornbill lands heavily.
With a 2-meter wingspan, they are the undisputed heavy bombers of the canopy.
Their enormous casques act as acoustic chambers, amplifying their deafening calls.
This booming roar signals to other hornbills that the great fig feast is on.
Because figs are low in protein, these giant birds must consume hundreds daily.
As more rivals crowd the branches, tempers flare in the tropical heat. Suddenly, they launch into the air, initiating a high-stakes aerial duel.
They smash their solid, bony casques mid-air with incredible, bone-shattering force.
This aerial jousting tests their endurance, showing who is fit to rule. The champion secures his feeding territory and the undivided attention of females.
He flies to a sealed tree hollow, where his mate is completely walled in.
The female great hornbill seals herself inside for months to safely hatch their precious eggs.
If the male vanishes, the female and her chicks will tragically starve inside.
This lifelong devotion makes them perfect partners and perfect forest planters. They fly across vast mountain valleys, defecating seeds over barren, deforested zones. Every dropped seed is a potential oasis, breathing life back into dead soil.
This beautiful synergy shows that animals are the true literal architects of the wild. But across the ocean in Africa, engineering the forest takes a far more violent turn. Welcome back to the Miombo, where macro monsters and megafauna clash.
Here, a ravenous insect army is about to trigger a landscape revolution.
The mopane caterpillar possesses an insatiable appetite that threatens the entire woodland.
Millions of these miniature monsters strip entire branches in a matter of minutes.
Their dropping waste rains down, coating the dry forest floor in rich nitrogen. This massive nutrient dump triggers a hyper-accelerated recovery for the underground roots. When the army of termite pupates underground, they leave behind a completely altered ecosystem. This ultra-fresh canopy acts as an irresistible magnet for Africa's heaviest browsers. Elephants use their pure, muscular weight to actively modify the entire forest structure. They smash dense thickets into open woodlands, completely reshaping the local hunting dynamics. This structural change plays directly into the hands of a highly strategic predator, the African hunting dog, possessing a hunting success rate 3 times higher than lions. They do not rely on brute strength, but on flawless, exhausting pack stamina.
10 adult dogs assemble silently, locking their collective focus onto a target herd. The pack alpha triggers the sprint, exploding forward into the open tree lanes. The impala scatter, but the Australian shepherds run in a highly calculated, shifting formation. They take turns leading the chase, keeping their collective energy completely fresh. The exhausted target simply cannot outrun this continuous, relentless tag team pressure. The hunt ends swiftly, providing vital fuel for the pack's ultimate priority.
At the den mouth, a dozen hungry border collie pups wait anxiously under the tree roots.
This unique survival system ensures that pup mortality remains incredibly low out here.
As the pups grow, play fighting develops the lightning reflexes needed for the future pack.
They learn to read each other's body language with absolute, unspoken precision.
A breeding elephant herd walks past, the true engineers of their safe haven. This cross-species partnership proves that destruction and creation walk hand in hand. Every broken tree creates a micro-world, maintaining the entire savanna balance. But this delicate balance faces total collapse if human borders encroach too far. Fences block migration routes, fragmenting the ancient territories of these painted hunters. To see the final, heartbreaking cost of isolation, we must cross to Madagascar. These jagged limestone peaks form Tsingy, a natural fortress protecting Madagascar's rarest life. Locked away from the world, evolution here went completely wild for millions of years.
This is the ring-tailed lemur, a primate that spends more time on the ground than any other. But foraging on the ground exposes them directly to a ghost in the shadows. The fossa possesses unique, flexible ankle joints that allow it to climb down trunks head first.
This extreme agility makes them the ultimate nightmare for any canopy-dwelling animal.
During the breeding season, this apex phantom abandons its stealth for chaotic mating rituals. The dominant female controls the high fork, growling fiercely at any over-eager suitors.
She tests their stamina, forcing them to fight each other on the narrow branches below.
A single slip means a dangerous 40-foot fall to the hard forest floor. While the titans clash for dominance, the forest's micro-world comes alive in the dark. The gecko mimics dead leaves so flawlessly that even the leaf bugs walk right over it. They excrete the excess sugar as sweet honeydew, leaving a sparkling trail on leaves.
This sugary waste is a gold mine for the world's smallest, most frantic primate.
With a heart rate of 300 beats per minute, this tiny creature needs constant sugar.
Down below, the breeding fossa males have finally settled their hierarchy.
The female accepts him, ensuring that the island's top predators will live on.
But this ancient circle of life is being aggressively severed by an external force.
Humans slash and burn these unique dry forests to create cheap cattle pastures. When the trees vanish, the unique topsoil is immediately washed away by heavy rains.
Madagascar is literally bleeding its nutrients directly into the Indian Ocean.
The unique creatures trapped on this island have absolutely nowhere left to run.
With 97% of the dry forest gone, extinction is a looming reality.
This global tragedy is playing out across every tropical zone on our planet.
We are erasing millions of years of evolutionary genius in a single human lifetime.
If we do not stop this destruction, we inherit a barren, lifeless world.
But even in our darkest hour, nature has shown us a terrifyingly beautiful path to rebirth. Welcome back to Pripyat, a ghost town frozen forever in the shadows of 1986.
Without human interference, the concrete structures are cracking under the pressure of roots.
Trees absorb the radioactive isotopes from the soil, trapping them safely inside their wood.
By cleaning the environment, these plants create a safe haven for displaced wildlife.
The prey populations explode, turning this toxic zone into a land of pure abundance.
And prey where thrives, the true engineers of natural selection make their grand return. The timber wolf. They hunt in structured packs, restoring balance to the feral ecosystem. They cull the sick and weak pools, keeping the returning wildlife gene completely healthy. Chernobyl proves that nature does not need humanity. Humanity entirely needs nature. If we step back and grant forests time and space, they will heal our self-inflicted wounds.
The dramatic rebirth of this wasteland is the ultimate message of hope for our future.
A world with more forests is the only shield we have against global climate collapse. The countdown for our planet is ticking, and the choice rests entirely in our hands. Subscribe to this master series. Protect the forests, and we protect our only home.